When I think about Pride Month, I think about the requirements of memory, reverence, imagination, and love. During this month, in my opinion, we must be reminded to take extra care and time to conjure and recall our own stories, what was lost, kept, erased, and preserved. We must honor those whose flame has dwindled and quenched, and those of us who are still here, yet whose flames are most severely targeted to be extinguished. We must celebrate how, by our being, our society is challenged to recall who it was, who it can be, how queer, how different we all are as individuals. And most importantly, we, queer people, must not wait to be loved, we must love ourselves.
I love it, Eric. Thank you so much for sharing that with us. And thank you for holding this space to the entire team. This means a lot. And there are so many things that we have to celebrate this month of June, but this is a great time, to your point, Eric, to really celebrate the folks whose shoulders we stand on, because obviously we just started to live and our true selves and in authenticity. But there are certainly so many people who paved the path for us to be able to do this in many ways. And I'm glad that you pointed that out.
So what does Pride Month mean to me? As somebody who is part of a community where it's still stigmatized to be out as an LGBTQ community member, I think what's really important is acknowledging that there are lots of countries and communities where it's still not safe to fully be yourself. And so those of us who may have the privilege to be able to be out can still fight for the liberation of others, while also acknowledging that there is a very real safety concern around folks who are part of our community. And another really important thing is acknowledging the human rights that come with the lives of transgender folks that often don't get acknowledged.
So what does Pride Month mean to me? I think what it means to me is making sure, to the extent possible, that I can influence organizations, especially the ones that we work with, to hold space and to allow our brothers and sisters and to bring their authentic selves to work, and to be able to not be concerned or shy with, being able to put it out on the table and be who they are and be proud of that. I think that as an ally, I think it's part of my responsibility to make sure that no one feels like they can't bring their whole selves to work.
We would be remiss to not mention the origins of Pride Month, which began to commemorate the Stonewall riots, which were initiated by Marsha P. Johnson, a Black trans woman. So every single Pride, we must make sure that we are centering Black trans women.
Pride, to me particularly, and I'm sure for us as a community, it's such a perfect time to celebrate our authenticity. If in many ways throughout our lives, it was something that we were hiding from the world, at the same time also allows us to educate other folks on the struggles, our struggles, or just the arduous path to gay liberation, really. And I think visibility, it allows us to be visible to the world and show that our sexual orientation or our gender identity is really just one facet of who we are. We are people with hopes and dreams and love stories and professional realizations. And it just allows others to see us for the human beings that we are at the end of the day.
I think it's important for the community to see themselves represented, to celebrate the wonderful aspects of the culture and the many contributions people from the LGBTQ community have made over many, many years that ultimately benefit all of us. Some of those contributions have been around pushing for human and civil rights. Some of them have been fun, have been creative, impacting our social and cultural spaces. We really owe a lot to those who have helped move all of us forward. And I appreciate the opportunity to amplify LGBTQ voices and use whatever power and privilege and influence I have to build solidarity and equity for folks in as many spaces as possible.
It's super important that we celebrate Pride so that we can continue to stand with our LGBTQ plus community, our loved ones, our friends, our family members, and make sure that you're continued to be celebrated and appreciated for every part of who you are, that you are able to show up authentically, freely, and know that you are not alone, and every single part of you is beautiful, cherished, important, and valued.
So what are some things we can do to celebrate Pride and acknowledge this amazing month, highlighting members of the LGBTQ community? One really simple step is to start with our pronouns. So I have a little thing over here, a cup that says ask my name and pronouns, and including our pronouns in our Zoom chat room or in our names, or when we meet somebody new saying, hi, my name is, and my pronouns are, if you're comfortable doing so. And this normalizes the sharing of pronouns for folks who might identify with pronouns that are not cisgender. Another thing that's really important that we can do is educate ourselves. So I have a book here on LGBTQ rights and activism, and I know I'm constantly educating myself, whether it's through articles, following thought leaders on social media, looking at resources and organizations. There are lots of ways that we can continue learning about the movement, from the Stonewall riots to even the laws that continue to ban and discriminate against LGBTQ workers in the workplace today. And then we can also donate to organizations that are doing this work, fighting for the rights for LGBTQ community members. And I'm going to turn it over to Esme to add anything else.
I'd say the best way to celebrate Pride Month is by being an ally and supporting both local and national LGBTQ plus owned businesses. Likewise, if you feel comfortable attending a Pride parade, but if not, there's also many virtual events happening.
That's right. Thank you, Esme. I do want to second that when it comes to allyship. Another great way to continue to support the community is to express and call your senators and actually express to them the support that you would have for the Equality Act, which is a bill in the United States Congress that, if passed, will actually amend the Civil Rights Act, and it'll prohibit discrimination on the basis of sexual orientation and gender identity when it comes to employment, housing, public accommodations, public education. And it really is a law that we desperately need as a community.
Yeah, absolutely, Camilo. And know where you are. Another thing is understanding what state, what local territory that you live in. What are the laws that exist in that state? Over half of the country still does not ban conversion therapy on minors. So there's a lot of issues that are still impacting even the youngest of the community members amongst us. And so we call on you and ask you to take responsibility over your own knowledge and really appreciate the time that you're going to do to support the LGBTQ community.
Another way to celebrate Pride Month is by supporting the LGBTQ plus business owners, authors, musicians, and the list could go on and on. Not only would you be practicing allyship, but by financially supporting this community, we would also increase representation in society. By increasing the representation, we would welcome folks to be their authentic self and not have to code switch whenever they enter a room.
So I think as a last comment, I would like to encourage organizations to examine their policies and their benefits, just to make sure that there are no benefits in place that happen to exclude the LGBTQ plus community. I think there are a lot of opportunities that we don't think of, a lot of creative ways to promote inclusiveness and the plus community, and benefits is just one of those ways. So please examine your policies.
Happy Pride Month.